Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever applies to you. I hope you're well and welcome to Big Foodie Geek, and I am the Big Foodie Geek. Now, if all has gone to plan, then hopefully this video will have gone up on Easter weekend, because it is Easter weekend right now, so I'm hoping to record and bake and edit this video all on the same day pretty much, so hopefully it will be Easter Sunday when this video has gone up. And if it isn't, well, never mind, as long as the video has turned out well. But this is an Easter inspired video. It's kind of off the cuff, so it could go horribly wrong. But today I want to make a Easter cake, a really nice Easter inspired cake, and I am taking influence from these mini egg cakes. These popped up at Easter and I saw these and I thought, wouldn't it be fun to try and do something inspired by these? They've essentially got chocolate cake in them and some sort of like vanilla filling, and then chocolate curls on top and a mini egg. So I'm going to open one up so we can kind of see what it looks inside and see what we've kind of got to work with. I'm probably not going to do something exactly like this, but we are definitely going to be inspired by this. So let's open one up and take a look. Right, opened up the box and here we go. We've got 4 little mini egg cakes. So let's get one out of here. So there's one of our mini egg cakes. So you can see it is completely covered in chocolate, and it's got some of these chocolate curls on it and a mini egg. So I'm just going to cut into this and see. Let's see what's inside. So you can see that it's got chocolate cake and also this sort of like filling, vanilla filling. It doesn't specifically say what it is, but to be honest, I'm probably not going to try and replicate that today because I have no idea what it is and I don't want to try and do something that might not work out. But what I am going to try and do is I'm going to see if I can alternate this cake to be chocolate and vanilla and try and do a combination of those flavors, but just not necessarily do like a vanilla mousse or anything like that, because quite frankly, God knows what that mousse is made out of, and it's not something I would really probably try and replicate today off the cuff. But everything else we are going to try and replicate, so we're going to try and do a chocolate and vanilla cake, see if we can alternate that, cover it in chocolate, and I'm probably not going to do chocolate curls, but what I am going to do is use these instead, Cadbury Flakes. So these are very crumbly, flaky chocolate, just like it says, and these will be perfect for kind of creating like the nest part of our cake. And then we're going to put mini eggs on top, but not just one, no, we're going to go better than that and do several, because you want to have more than one egg in your nest, don't you? So this is the kind of thing that we're aiming for today, but on a bigger scale. So I'm just going to give this a quick taste. It would be remiss of me not to. It tastes very good. It tastes like a nice chocolate cake. The vanilla filling actually does very little, so I'm not too worried about not doing the filling in this instance. Oh, my boss is trying to call. Hold on. Apologies for that. When you're a website manager for a company that's open bank holidays and weekends, sometimes you get a call about things that need updating on the site urgently. Anyway, as I said, it's a nice chocolate cake. The vanilla filling doesn't do too much, so I'm not too worried about not replicating that. But otherwise, we are going to try and create a larger version of this. So let's get started. Okay, obviously we want to make our cake batter, but the first thing I'm going to do is weigh my bowl, because basically what I want to do is I want to make that cake batter, but I am going to basically divide it into 2, because I want to see how much the actual batter weighs and then subtract the weight of the bowl, and then I can divide it evenly into 2. And then what I will be doing with that cake batter is I'll be putting some cocoa powder into one half to create like the chocolatey cake, and then we can keep the other half as the vanilla cake. That's my plan anyway. So that is about 313 grams, so we'll make a note of that. And then first of all, I'm going in with 125 grams of unsalted butter and 200 grams of caster sugar. And then I'll beat that together until it's nice and creamy and fluffy. Right, that butter and sugar has been combined together. I think that shows how cold it is in the UK still as well, because that butter was softened when I had prepared it earlier, and in the time that it's taken for me to set up and do the intro and stuff, it actually firmed up quite a lot. So it's still pretty cold here, even though it's now April. Then next we're going to combine in 2 eggs, one at a time. Okay, that's those eggs combined with that butter and sugar. Then let's just get some of that around the edges, make sure we're not leaving any behind. Then I'm mixing things up today, and I'm actually putting in some buttermilk, 100 grams worth of buttermilk, because that gives it a lovely flavor, I feel, and a nice texture. Just gotta fold that in rather than using the whisk. And then we're going in with our dry ingredients, so 200 grams of self-raising flour. Then I'll just gently combine that all in together. Again, get around those edges, make sure there's no ingredients left. There we go, that looks like a nice batter. So what I want to do now is see how much this weighs. So that is 1.04 kilograms, so that's 1,040 grams. So I've got to subtract 313 grams from that for the bowl. So that's 727 grams, so I've got to divide that by 2. So I need to divide that into about 363 grams per each half of my batter, basically. So I've got another bowl here, so I'm going to pop in 363 grams of that batter. Just as I was part way through that, I stopped because I suddenly realized I'm going to be putting about 40 grams worth of cocoa powder into this, so obviously that's going to increase the weight of this. So I am thinking ahead, well, thinking on my toes at least. So I'm going to pop in the cocoa powder into this, and then just the rest of the batter to even that up. 370, close enough. I'm winging it today, can you tell? Anyway, I'm just combining this cocoa powder into here. So this is actually going to make this drier. So I'm going to add more buttermilk into this as I go. So add a bit of that buttermilk. Just want to try and get this back to the same consistency roughly as the vanilla. See, that's just kind of falling off my spatula. So that's when I want to get it back to. There we go, that's kind of what it was before. It's now falling off that spatula. So I now need to try and divide this into a tin and see if I can get this into kind of like stripes almost. So that might be quite tricky. Not looking forward to that. There's probably an easier way to do it, but again, I'm winging it today. So I've got myself an 8-inch cake tin here, which I think will do. So I'm gonna now put my cake batter into this, see if I can get it into kind of like sections of chocolate and vanilla. Don't know how this is gonna go, but again, winging it. So let's pop some chocolate down here, and then some vanilla down here, and chocolate down here again, and then more vanilla down here, and then chocolate right over here. Oh, I'm going to have to clear that side up. So there we go, we've got our stripy layering of cake there, so we're going to pop that into the oven now. Hopefully it will turn out with kind of that sort of effect in it. So in this goes into the oven about 180 degrees C for probably about 25 to 30 minutes. Computer, set a timer for 25 minutes.
25 minutes, starting now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, it has been 25 minutes. Let's see how this has turned out. Oh, hello, look at that. That looks all right, actually. Looks like the vanilla's actually come up more than the chocolate one. Maybe that's because the chocolate one ended up a bit denser, but that's all right. Let's get a skewer through this to see if it is cooked all the way through. Looks pretty clean to me. Let's go through the chocolate part as well, see how that's done. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me. Not as quite as even as I wanted, but again, I think because this probably ended up denser because I added the cocoa powder, and obviously I ended up mixing it more because I had to get that extra ingredients in. It's not quite the same consistency, but I'm still happy with that. That has cooked through well, and once we get some chocolate all over that, you know, it's going to balance out that flavour as well. So I think that's still going to work. So I am going to leave this to cool in the tin for a bit. Then I'm going to take it out of the tin and leave it to cool completely. And then we can get on with getting the chocolate over it. Okay, the cake has cooled completely. So now we can see about getting this decorated. So first things first, we want to get it covered in chocolate, a bit like me. So what we're going to do is we're not making a ganache or anything like that. We are just covering it in solid chocolate because that is pretty much what those little mini egg cakes were like. So let's get some chocolate tempered for this to go over it. So to temper my chocolate, I've got a pan of simmering water here, and I'm popping on a metal bowl over the top of that to use that heat to melt this chocolate. I've got some milk chocolate here. I've gone for dairy milk because we are pretty much going with the Cadbury's theme today, not sponsored. So Cadbury, if you do want to sponsor me, by all means, I will welcome it. Not going to happen, but hey. So to temper our milk chocolate, what we want to do is basically heat it up to 45 degrees C, which will melt it, and then we will need to then cool it down to 26 degrees C, and then reheat it back up to 29 degrees C. We're going with a lot of precise measurements here, but this is essentially just going to temper our chocolate to give us a nice glossy chocolate, which will set well and will hopefully be nice and shiny. So I've got 150 grams of milk chocolate here. I've also got 50 grams of milk chocolate in the freezer, which is cut up into smaller pieces. And basically what I'll do is once this has got up to 45 degrees C, then I will pop in the cold chocolate, which will then help this to then lower the temperature. So we're using that is basically like the seed, I think it's called, or something like that. I could be wrong, I am probably wrong, but essentially that will help this chocolate then cool down a lot quicker. So that's pretty much melted. What temperature are we at? Yep, that is at 45 degrees C, a little bit past it actually. So I'm going to move this off the heat. Let's take that off, move my camera as well. Super professional here. And then I'm popping in my seed chocolate or my cold chocolate, whatever is the right term for it. And that's going to then melt in that residual heat, but also help us basically bring this back down to 26 degrees C. Right, let's see what temperature we're at. So we're at around 36, 37 degrees C now with that chocolate in it. So I'm just gonna have to keep stirring that until it is back down to around 26 degrees C. What I've done to help this cool down a little bit quicker, I have taken this bowl and popped it into another bowl with a little bit of cold water in there to try and help this along a bit, because it was taking a while. 26.8, so almost there pretty much. I think if I just give this another swish round, that should be pretty much back to 26 degrees. And that goes back over that water just to bring this back up to 29 degrees C. See how long that takes, shouldn't take long. A lot easier to heat things up than it is to cool them down. Yep, that's already up to 29 degrees C. That took no time at all. So off we come with this, and we can now, let that steam go. We can now get this over the cake, and then I can see if it's actually enough and if I need to do any more. Right, I've got my cake here. I've put it onto some grease-proof paper because obviously any chocolate I put on it is going to come down the sides, and it'll help me basically to stop it from sticking to anything. And if I need to trim off any excess chocolate, I can. It'll make life a hell of a lot easier. Let's get this chocolate all over the top, because it shouldn't take long for it to set. Get this moved out all over to the sides. We might be all right actually, we might be okay. All depends on if it's enough to get over the edges. I'm working quite quickly here, so apologies if this is a mess or I don't talk too much. I mean, you might actually prefer that for a change. Actually, that was pretty much the right sort of amount. Just trying to smooth out around the edges here. I'm not too bothered if this isn't super even on the top either, because we are pretty much going to be covering this with the Cadbury Flake and the mini eggs as well. So that looks pretty good. I'm just going to leave it to cool down for a little bit, and then I'm going to crumble over some of the Cadbury Flakes to try and get that nest effect, and also pop some of the mini eggs in, and that should be it. I don't want to let it cool completely, because while it's still tacky, wet chocolate, basically that will help the flake and the mini eggs stick to it. So it's come to that point where it's getting tacky, it's nearly set. So I want to get my flake over the top of this to create the nest, and then we can get some mini eggs, and then it'll be pretty much done. So I've got my flakes here. I'm not going too ceremonious with these. I'm just going to get them out. Not really a fan of flake as a chocolate bar. I find it too dry. I don't like the fact that it's crumbly. It's not what I'm looking for in a chocolate bar, but it is great for stuff like this. Because we can just get this and start to basically crumble it over. Got 4 of these, so hopefully it'll be enough. Let's just go a bit chunkier with this last one. Really start to press some of those bits in there. That is actually almost set. Then I've got myself a tube of mini eggs, so there should be more than enough to hopefully plonk into the middle here. That's probably a good amount, maybe a few more. It's been a very productive bird, whatever one this is. There we go, that is pretty much there. I'm just going to leave that to completely set and put it onto something more presentable than the grease-proof paper and just tidy it up. And then I can cut into it, see how my layerings come out. I can't remember which way around it is, to be honest, but that is pretty much there. That is our Easter egg mini nest cake, whatever you want to call it. A hot mess, that's probably what we want to call it, a hot mess. So there is our mini egg nest cake, although it's not so mini compared to the original one. Actually, that's slightly darker chocolate that they've got going on there, but never mind, it's fine, because again, I was winging it throughout this entire thing. But it looks pretty cool, doesn't it? I think there's something that I've kind of really, like I said, wong it, is that a thing? I know it is now. But yeah, I winged it, and it still turned out pretty well. I took some shortcuts, but it looks pretty cool and hopefully it tastes good as well. So let's try and get in here and see how it turns out and get a slice out of it. I was hoping to do like a cross section, but I can't remember which way the stripes are going, so I'm just going to cut a wedge out of it and hope we get a bit of both, a bit of vanilla and a bit of chocolate. So I'm just going to move these eggs because most of them didn't stick on. Ooh. Oh, that one's run away. Most of them didn't stick on, but that's fine because it helps me move them because it's just going to be easier to get through a cut. It cuts through quite well actually. Let's lift you out and see how you've come out. Look at that, that actually came out quite well. It's more like a marble cake now, but we've actually got a couple of different textures there with the chocolate cake and the vanilla cake. The chocolate is a lot more dense, the vanilla is a bit lighter. And look at that, that's pretty cool actually. I would have liked the stripes a bit better, but that's still a pretty cool thing. I kind of like that. We took inspiration, we didn't replicate. That is my caveat and I'm sticking to it. But it looks pretty good. But how does it taste? Right, got my mini egg, Easter egg, nest cake, whatever you want to call it, right here. Let's give it a try, shall we? Hopefully it will taste pretty good. Got some of the flake already coming off the top of it, but never mind. Tell you what, that's pretty good. That is actually pretty good. Because you've actually got more vanilla cake in there, it actually balances it out really nice. It's not just full on chocolate hitting you in your face. You get a bit of the lightness of the vanilla, and then you get some of the chocolate cake, which is a bit denser, and then you got like the milk chocolate around it, and I had mini egg on there, and you get some of the texture from the flake as well. It's nice, it's good. It's turned out well. It's pretty light as well, even with that slightly denser chocolate cake, it's nice and light, and I think the buttermilk helps with that. Considering that was completely chaotic and I didn't really plan it apart from buying the few things I kind of wanted with it, that turned out pretty well. I didn't plan to use the buttermilk, to be honest. I bought that for something else and I thought, while I've got it, I might as well use it. And that is very nice. That is probably better than the mini egg nests because those are nice, but they're not there's not much to them. Whereas that, it's got a bit of depth to it, which is a strange thing to say when I've thrown like a butt ton of chocolate onto it. So there you go, a slightly chaotic but successful Easter video. Hopefully I will get this edited in time for it to go up on Easter Sunday at the very latest, but we'll see how it goes. But hopefully you will be seeing this in Easter 2023, and whenever you end up watching it, you might watch it another time as well. But whenever you watched it, I do hope you enjoyed it. And if you did enjoy it, obviously like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell to find out when new videos go up. Obviously, if you want to give that a go, I did wing it today, but I'll try and put some rough measurements down into the description so you can kind of get a rough idea of what I used. But you kind of saw the texture and stuff that you want the cake to be when I was putting it in, layering it up. Let me know if you give it a go and see how it turns out, or if you made it better, because I'm sure people can make that a lot better. It was rough and ready, but very tasty. So that's it for this Easter video. I'm going to go off, I'm going to finish my cake, and then I'm going to need to get on with editing this video. So hopefully you will see me very soon once I've got this edited. So take care of yourselves, have a lovely Easter, and I will see you next time on Big Foodie Geek. Take care of yourselves, bye bye. But never mind that. Today is Easter weekend, or rather this is Easter weekend when I'm recording this, and you might be recording this, I might be recording this, you might be recording this, someone might be recording this, but I'm recording this. Tell you what, the ADHD was strong with that video today.